This is G-Free Radio. Here's your host, Peter Stewart.
Hello, and this week on the G-Free Radio Show, the news that the European Union is to add 2 new food labels for those who are gluten intolerant in 2016, so not too far away now. This hasn't been discussed much, but we're going to in this week's episode, and also ask, is it going to be a help or a hindrance to have another label on our food, another box to check? We'll tell you what they're proposing. Our interview is with Kate Hardie. When her toddler was diagnosed as celiac, she decided to write her own recipe book. Hear Kate and William's story from diagnosis to publication. Also, how volunteers are wanted for a gluten-free diet study. The AGM of the Coeliac UK group coming as they launch their mobile phone app. We reveal the secret recipes that one major brand is taste testing this week. And of course, our tweets of the week.
Feel free for gluten-free, say feel free to polish off their pasta, devour their desserts, relish their ready meals, savour their savoury bakes, munch on their muffins, grab their granolas. Whew, there's certainly lots of choice in the Feel Free for gluten-free range. Visit feelfreefoods.co.uk.
It is the world's only podcast for people who are diagnosed as having celiac disease, however you spell it, with that O or without the O. Although, of course, the chances are that when you were diagnosed and told of the diagnosis, you probably did go, oh. And also, it's for people who choose to live gluten-free. Hello, I'm Peter Stewart. It is G-Free Radio, and welcome to the latest episode. So we've got our chat with Kate Hardie a little bit later on in the show, our tweets of the week as well. Also got a few questions for you, letting you in on a few little secrets as well that I probably shouldn't be telling you about, but I will, because I'm like that. We're all in this together. But first of all, we'll start off with that intriguing news about how the European Union is going to add 2 new food labels for people who live gluten-free in 2016. So it's only, 18 months or so away. It's interesting stuff. I'm taking this from the Serious Coeliac without the O, the Serious Coeliac. So take a look at his site. He's got some really in-depth ongoing research and commentary there, and it really, really is interesting. Peter Noe has written about this, and passing it on. The EU has notified the World Trade Organization that it intends to allow 2 new labels on foods for people who are intolerant to gluten. Now, this is really interesting because, of course, there is the ongoing debate about what is gluten-free, whether gluten-free should be, in fact, 0 parts per million, or whether it's allowable to be 20 parts per million. And, of course, most countries around the world, notably the UK, across Europe, have decided that 20 parts per million is an accepted level. And, indeed, the UK came down. It was higher than that, and it has dropped lower. The Americans, as we know, over the last 18 months or so, have done, in fact, more recently than that, over the last year, they decided that there would be a law on how many parts per million could be called gluten-free, and they've gone for 20 parts per million as well. Meanwhile, in Australasia, they've decided to put theirs up. Theirs was 0, and it's now going up to 20 parts per million. Anyway, how au fait are you with looking at the boxes, the labels, the signs, the logos, the ingredients lists on the packets and the tins and the bags when you buy something which is gluten-free? We have some more legal issues coming up in the UK at the end of the year, and Caroline Benjamin is going to be with us in a few weeks' time to talk a little bit more about what that means, all about the rules and the regulations, the laws and the licensing for what you need to be told when you're in a restaurant or a cafe, anywhere that serves food. They need to be able to tell you what is gluten-free and actually know what they're talking about. So all sorts of legal situations are going on, and this is the latest. So let me tell you what this is. We already know, don't we? Gluten-free, maximum of 20 parts per million of gluten. That goes unchanged. Very low gluten, maximum 100 parts per million of gluten, which is unchanged. Okay, new proposed label. Suitable for people intolerant to gluten. And that may accompany gluten-free or very low gluten labels without further requirements. Well, that's interesting in itself, isn't it? So something that says gluten-free may also have a label that says suitable for people intolerant to gluten. Okay, so I'm just kind of getting my head around that. I think that's okay. I'm not entirely sure why it's necessary, but okay, that doesn't detract from the gluten-free phrase, does it? Okay, and a new label, so the second new label, specifically formulated for people intolerant to gluten. It may accompany gluten-free or very low gluten labels if the product is specifically produced to A, reduce the gluten content of gluten-containing ingredients, for example, gluten-free wheat starch, or B, substitute the gluten-containing ingredients with other ingredients naturally free of gluten. Only came across this a day or two ago, so I'm still trying to get my head around what actually the differences are and why it's necessary. The Serious Coeliac says, the problem I have with this two-class labelling for essentially the same foods, naturally gluten-free, maximum 20 parts per million of gluten, is that it will reduce attention for the existing gluten-free label. Patients, because that is what we are, patients will be misled, thinking the gluten-free labelled products are not as safe as the specially formulated ones, while actually both can have 20 parts per million. And actually, maybe they're right, Peter says. With two-class labelling, food authorities might even become less inclined to enforce the maximum gluten content of the simply gluten-free labelled foods. He gives an example. Oh, you really cannot have gluten. Why didn't you choose the one specially formulated for your disease then? He goes on. Reduced demand for gluten-free labelled foods, as opposed to specially formulated foods, will lead to reduced supply from regular food producers. Result? Reduced or more expensive choice for the celiac consumer. It's interesting stuff. He's got various pages of commentary, comment, insight, reaction. He's gone through it in an awful amount of detail. As you can imagine, the way the proposals are written up, very much in legalese. I'll give you one of them, okay? This is Regulation EU number 609/2013. Furthermore, the Commission should consider how to ensure that people who are intolerant to gluten are adequately informed of the difference between a food that is specially produced, prepared and or processed in order to reduce the gluten content of one or more gluten-containing ingredients and other food that is made exclusively from ingredients naturally free of gluten. Wow. It's full of that kind of stuff. Okay, so if you want to know more about that, the Serious Coeliac without the O, and have a little look at that. The item entitled EU to add 2 new food labels for gluten intolerant in 2016. They are due to decide on that in the next couple of days as I record this programme. So by the time you hear this, they may have already made that decision. Let's move on. 100 volunteers are being sought for a 7-week study to examine if eliminating wheat makes us feel less bloated and more energised. The impact a gluten-free diet has on organisms that regulate health in our gut will also be assessed in the research led by experts from Aberdeen University. The study is funded by a grant of £100,000 from the Scottish Funding Council and Technology Strategy Board and supported by a gluten-free food company, doesn't say which one, will help inform health guidelines in the food industry about the potential impact of a gluten-free diet. If you want to get involved with that, do get in touch with them. ABDN, as in Aberdeen, abdn.ac.uk, and you're looking for the particular word rowet, ROWETT, and do a little search for that and gluten-free and so on. That will come up, and that's from the Herald Scotland. Okay. So, it is Saturday the 21st. It is the big annual general meeting of the Coeliac UK group. So all sorts of things going on. They're at Windsor. If you're outside the UK, Windsor, home to the magnificent Windsor Castle, one of the homes of the Queen. Absolutely stunning up there on the hillside. Very iconic sight and view that you may be able to picture it with that big round turret and so on. Absolutely fantastic. Just on the River Thames, a few miles from Heathrow Airport, and it's a very, very picturesque place for them to be meeting. They're actually at the Royal Windsor Racecourse in Berkshire. So all sorts of things going on there. Lots of meetings, discussions, votes, and the serious stuff to go on, various resolutions and so on. Also, the inevitable food fair, which is brilliant. So your chance to meet up with some other people who are there, maybe do some taste testing. Of course, Europe's biggest food fair for celiacs, for those living gluten-free, is within the month. It's just, 3 weeks away now. Interesting stuff. And the Coeliac UK AGM comes at the same time they've launched their membership survey, asking all sorts of different questions, and also as they launch their new mobile phone app. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? It must have been, we heard about this first, about a year or so ago, and eventually you can download it onto your iPhone, and the Android phone's coming soon, and we'll give you a bit more information about that the other side of this. Let me introduce you to Kate Hardie. She's a mum, and she's a mum to William. And a few years ago, William had quite a few tummy troubles, let's put that mildly, and a few questions were asked, and men and women in white coats were consulted, and back came the diagnosis that William had celiac disease. And as I mentioned at the front of the programme, it's the kind of news that I'm sure Kate went, oh, to. And she looked around for some help and for some advice, and even though there was quite a bit out there, there wasn't really the help and advice that she was looking for, namely, how to feed a toddler gluten-free. There wasn't enough variety, there weren't enough recipes. Some of the recipes that were out there didn't have photographs attached to them. And if you're anything like me, you're rather disinclined to cook up a recipe if you don't know what it's going to look like or what it should look like at the end of the whole process. You eat with your eyes, don't you? And it's nice to be tempted and tantalised by seeing a picture first. And then you look at the name, and then you look at the ingredients, and then you look and see how difficult it is. Anyway, I'm going a little bit off topic, because the point being that when Kate Hardie couldn't find the recipes that she wanted to give her young son William a varied gluten-free diet, she thought, well, to heck with this, or words to that effect, I shall write my own. So she jolly well did. And the result can now be bought. And the result of my conversation with Kate about the journey that she and William have taken together over the last few years can now be heard right here.
My little boy was diagnosed with celiac disease when he was just 18 months old, and he's now 4. However, I just felt there was a gap in the market for family-related cookery books, and I wanted to bridge the gap really between a health-type recipe book and the kind of, make it very appealing for young people, young children, inspirational, lots of photography so that the children and their families would like to eat the food. And he's at the age, he's attending birthday parties, he's at school now, and I just felt that this is something that could be highlighted even more, and hopefully will encourage young people to get cooking, and also to help raise awareness about celiac disease, and that they don't have to be different to their friends, and everybody can enjoy the food.
Tell us a little bit about William, first of all, because we'd like to hear his kind of celiac story. Was it an easy journey, or was it fraught with difficulties and lots of time delays?
It certainly was. I mean, he was 18 months old, as I mentioned, and so we were just trying to communicate with him from that very young age. He was in a lot of pain. We would spend many hours driving him round in the car through the night, which was the only way to get him settled. And he was just in so much pain and had a very distended tummy and was sick once a day for getting on for 3 months. And so it was very much a roller coaster of a journey. Numerous visits back and to the doctors, and eventually we got the go ahead to have a blood test to test for celiac disease. And sure enough, it came back positive, and then we were referred for his biopsy, which for a little child, it's horrible to watch him go through that. And yes, it was, quite a stressful time, I would say.
And presumably now things are much easier, although obviously not like any other child, in as much as you mentioned birthday parties and things like that. So what has been the difficulties that he's faced?
I think that firstly, he was at nursery at the time, not long after his diagnosis. That was tricky because he was the first child within the nursery to have celiac disease. So there was quite a lot of educational meetings that we had between ourselves, and also with his present school, he's the first child there to have celiac disease. So we've encountered lots of bumps in the road, but he's kind of adapted. It's all he's ever known, really.
Yes, so he's grown up with those kinds of ways, those coping mechanisms, I suppose, when food is maybe handed out at school or something is shared from someone else's lunchbox, or someone brings in some birthday biscuits, or he goes to a party. He knows what to do and what to say. And in fact, it's what he says that has proved to be the title of this book.
Absolutely. I was never in any doubt what the book was going to be called, because from the moment William could talk, he would ask me, can I eat it? Can I eat it? And I just knew I had the title of the book before I put pen to paper. And that's what kept me focused. And I think it's just, everybody can relate to the title, and it's such a common question for anybody either with celiac disease or a food allergy or intolerance. So I just felt it was a perfect title.
And you know what? The perfect cookbook for me is one that has pictures in. So you do still get quite a few cookbooks around, recipe books and so on, which don't have the pictures. You eat with your eyes, don't you, first of all? Absolutely. And that was one of the things that I, as a graphic designer anyway, I had a vested interest in, making the food look appealing. So I wanted every recipe to have a photograph that people can look at how the food should be made, or, their variation on it. So it's quite a colourful book. It's, very, very pleasing on the eye, and hopefully quite inspiring. So give me some ideas. Tempt me. Obviously, it's radio, so even though I've looked at the pictures, it's a bit difficult to show them to the listeners right now. But tempt me with some of the names of these dishes. What have you got going on?
Well, a bit of a tongue twister. Sticky chicken jumbles is one that's on the party list. We've got one called Katie Cake, which is obviously named after myself. And this was my twist on a family favourite as a child myself. And so I've adapted it to make it obviously gluten-free, and it's extremely chocolatey and very nice.
And you say you're a graphic designer rather than a cook or a home economist. So how easy did you find it coming up with these recipes or adapting other family favourites?
Well, my book encompasses all the things that are important to me. I enjoy design, graphic design, and I've always enjoyed cooking from a very young age. My grandparents inspired me, and it's kind of always been in the blood. And so to make this recipe book, it's obviously from William's health point of view, it's important to me, and it's also given me the chance to create a recipe book and put my cooking into practice. And the recipes took a very long time. I started off with a spiral bound piece of paper and a pen, and literally just went from there, recipe by recipe, one small step at a time. And I'd never actually used a camera in this way before. Food photography has also been a bit of a learning curve, which has been brilliant, really. It's given me another string to my bow. And I've thoroughly enjoyed doing that aspect too. So it's kind of, if I said I was a little bit of a control freak, that might be quite accurate, because I've had complete control over this whole project. So, yes.
And what does William think of the finished result?
Oh, he's quite happy. He's always coming home saying, "Mummy, what have you been making today?" You know, he's kind of looking to see what we've got in the kitchen and what nice smells there are. So.
And tell me, has it encouraged him to take more of an active role in the kitchen and to perhaps bake some things himself and to get involved in that way, making and baking?
Absolutely, yes. He's really shown an interest. He loves to help me with some of the recipes and always asks what different ingredients are. And he's got his own little pinny. And yes, he's very hands-on. A little bit messy, but very hands-on.
Okay, so if people want to download a bit of a sample, they can do that via Amazon, can't they? Because I was just looking a few minutes ago. Correct. before we recorded. So where do they go to find out more about the book, which is called Can I Eat It?
You can go to my website, which is www.happyigloo.com, and that will give you a full range of some of the recipes that I've been creating, and also links to some videos that I've made that will hopefully help families with newly diagnosed children, just to reassure them and to show that they're not on their own. And there's also lots of photographs that I've been taking to inspire. And yes, you can basically find all the information on my website.
Feel free for gluten-free, say feel free to polish off their pasta, devour their desserts, relish their ready meals, savour their savoury bakes, munch on their muffins, grab their granolas. Whew, there's certainly lots of choice in the Feel Free for gluten-free range. Visit feelfreefoods.co.uk.
So a couple of things before we end this week's show. I was telling you a few moments ago, wasn't I, about the Coeliac UK AGM, which is ongoing. And lots of people around at the Windsor Racecourse on Saturday the 21st to give you help and advice and so on, and talk to you about what it's like being a member of Coeliac UK, which I think I'm right in saying not only is the world's first celiac society, but also are the people who invented the crossed grain logo. Yeah, it is actually owned by them. Sarah Sleet was telling us that. She's the chief executive of that group when she was on the programme back in January. And as part of that process, they've sent out a big questionnaire for people to answer, and either you can do it on the paper form or you can do it online. And I just thought, even if you weren't a member of Coeliac UK, or maybe you're in another part of the country, another part of the world, then you may be interested to know what some of these questions were, because it just helps you kind of think about what it is you do and how you live your life when it comes to being a celiac or living gluten-free. Okay, so it starts off, male, female, age and that kind of thing, how long you've been a member, when did you join, and so on. Which sentence most describes, or more clearly describes, how you feel about following a gluten-free diet? It's question 8. How would you answer this? Mostly it's fine, but socialising is a hassle. It's made no difference to my lifestyle. I feel I miss out on a lot because of it. The diet has changed the way I live for the better. The diet has had a negative impact on the way I live. I ignore my condition because it's too difficult to live with. Interesting stuff, isn't it? I wonder how you would respond to that, which is question 8 on the survey. It then goes on to various things about how you access information, what is the most interesting, useful part of the various services that they offer, and so on. And also what you want them to do in the future. And then it says, this is another good one. Please tell us how satisfied you are with the work we are doing in the following areas. So you know what it's like. Very satisfied, satisfied, dissatisfied, very dissatisfied or not aware. So increasing diagnosis rates, maintaining gluten-free food on prescription, improving access to suitable post-diagnosis support, raising money for research, encouraging food manufacturers to label gluten-free where possible, encouraging more restaurants to offer more than one gluten-free option, working with food manufacturers and retailers to drive down the cost of gluten-free food, working with supermarkets to improve availability of gluten-free food. When you see it in a list like that, it makes you remember how much a group such as Coeliac UK, or maybe your national celiac group, is doing on your behalf, which is really, really fantastic news. So good luck to them in all they are doing. That's Coeliac UK. What issues, if any, did you face while seeking diagnosis for celiac disease? No issues, lack of GP awareness of celiac disease, misdiagnosed with another condition, for example, irritable bowel syndrome, the length of time taken to obtain a clear diagnosis, or my own lack of knowledge of celiac disease. Then there's a few questions about follow-up appointments, where you get your prescription from, and so on. This next question, 27, is rather interesting, bearing in mind our topic at the front of this week's episode. Here we go. Please rate how useful you find the following packaging information when shopping. The allergy advice box. Allergens in bold in the ingredients list, the crossed grain symbol, the gluten-free label, the ingredients list, the may contain gluten statement, no gluten containing ingredients label. So some of those I don't see at all, to be honest. I don't know, maybe it's there, but I just haven't spotted it. I honestly can't remember the last time I saw, or indeed the first time I saw, an NGCI label on food, bearing in mind that sometimes these questions, quite rightly, set out to trick you a little bit, just by putting something in that they know the answer to. For example, it may be that the NGCI label doesn't exist, but they're seeing how many people are ticking, oh yes, I see that all the time, it's terribly useful, just to kind of, stick to measure the other answers by. Which of the following statements, I'm not reading out all of these, obviously, which of the following statements best describes the menu choice at the last restaurant you went to? So wherever you are in the world, you can answer this. There was at least one gluten-free option. There was more than one gluten-free option. The restaurant had been accredited by Coeliac UK, so I knew the menu would have suitable options for me. Or there were no gluten-free options at all. Obviously very, very important stuff, and part of various campaigns from various organisations around the world to try and get more gluten-free options clearly labelled and readily available on restaurant menus. And section 5, the last couple of questions. 31, what's the best piece of advice you would share with others about managing your diet and health? That's just a blank box answer. The best piece of advice you'd give someone else. And if you have specific feedback on our catering training scheme, how our services help you find safe foods, how our support networks have helped you through those challenging times, or any other information we provide, please write it in the white box, which is 32, and then other feedback, and then a couple more questions about your own personal situation. Interesting stuff, I thought. I filled it out online, so that has been submitted. So hopefully that's all going to be interesting stuff. But also, in one of those questions, don't know if I can find it very, very quickly, what the number was, but they did ask what? Here we go, question 13. If you've got a smartphone, please tell us which type. iPhone, Android, Samsung, Nokia, Sony, Windows or BlackBerry. Which, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brings me to the next point, which is the mobile phone app. It's been ages in the making, hasn't it? We've been hearing talk about this in the Crossed Grain, Coeliac UK magazine, for months and months and months. And finally, it was sprung upon us with about a couple of days' notice, wasn't it? Oh, it's going to be out. It's going to be out this week. And there it was. So it has been downloaded. Let's grab my phone and turn that on and see what it's all about. But essentially to say that you can download it in the App Store for Apple devices, iOS devices. It's going to be available for Android devices in the next few days, Monday the 23rd. So there it is. It's on my phone, which gives you an idea of what my phone is. Our new app, Gluten-Free on the Move, aims to help you manage every element of your gluten-free diet, whether it's shopping for food or finding somewhere to eat out. The app includes access to the food and drink directory. So if you're not familiar with that, that is a listing of thousands of different products you can eat. You can buy in supermarkets and stores. Let's have a little look down here. Baby food, bakery, breakfast cereal, confectionery, pasta. Oh, dozens. Let's just go, click on this one. Desserts. And that gives us a breakdown of custards and toppings, desserts, ice creams and lollies, meringues and pavlovas, puddings and gâteaux. Let's go, nice and summery. Let's go and see what's under meringues and pavlovas. Updating items. And then, gosh, how many things there? There must be about 20 or 30. Let's just have a quick look down here. Raspberry and white chocolate pavlova from Breaks, one from the Co-op, Marks and Spencer's, toffee cream meringues, chocolate meringue roulade, Sainsbury's, we've got here berry meringue roulade frozen, taste the difference meringue nest, as you might imagine, a Tesco lemon meringue dessert. Okay, suitable it says, and you can click on that and it gives you a bit more information there. So that's the food and drink directory. Also, you can scan items as you shop to see whether they're suitable for your gluten-free diet and listed in our directory. Search through the additions and deletions in real time. Use the gluten-free checklist to help you search through a product's ingredients list and more. And the venue guide will use the location service on your phone so you can search for venues where you are. You can see which venues we've accredited so you know which ones we've worked with. So if we go back on here and we go to, we don't want to search, let's go back to the main page. There's a label guide which gives the rules and regulations, gluten-free checklist, eating tips, using this application, venue guide. Here we go. So click on there and I'm going to, well, it's already come up with my own location and I can see that there's somewhere just not far away. Pizza Hut delivery. There you go, Pizza Hut delivery. It is GF certified. There's also a wealth of other information on the app, including a label guide, eating out tips, and news from Coeliac UK. Now, you've got to be a member of the charity to access some of those services, because after all, as they point out, it has cost a lot to develop. So, it's not generally available. Anyone can download it, but you just don't get all of the information there, which I think is fair, don't you? Because otherwise it's the people who are paying to join and support Coeliac UK. They'll be paying for everyone else to use it, which perhaps is a little unfair if that were to be the case. So the app works on those following phones, the iPhones and then the Android smartphones a little bit later on. So good stuff. You know what occurs to me? It'd be nice to do a quick survey, wouldn't it, using that barcode scanner. So, we just thought about that, didn't we? We should... Pre-production, you say? No. Okay, I'm thinking, can I get out of the studio and go to the bag where I recently bought some gluten-free food and grab them and do a live test here, okay? Keep the tape running. No, it may go quiet for a bit, but we'll just nip out the studio and try... Okay, I'm leaving now. This is genuine. Hold on. Okay, don't worry, I'm back. Right, so I've got various things here. So let's give this the test. Now, some of these are obviously gluten-free, but let's put this to a live test. Here we go. So we go to the label guide. No, we don't. How would you do this? It's not the label guide. I'm just using this food and drink directory. Oh yes, food and drink directory, and then you go to scan. I use this once, and then it comes up with the camera, so then you've got to scan. So I'm picking up a tin, and I'm finding the barcode, and searching. Gosh, that was very, very quick. No items have been found in our food and drink directory that match your scan search. Oh. Okay. Try another product. Let's do it again, just in case it did it incorrectly. Done it again. Searching. Taking a bit longer this time. No items. Oh. That's a little disappointing. It's Morrison's custard, which is gluten-free. Oh dear. You failed on the first one. Right, okay. Now let's try this. Got another thing here. So try another product and loading camera, and there we go. So it's searching. Suitable. Helen's gluten-free baking mixes, gluten-free brown bread mix. Correct, yes. So 1 out of 2. That goes there. That goes there. Right, let's try this. This is now another gluten-free product. Try another product. This is specifically gluten-free. And searching. Suitable. Udi's granola cranberry walnut. Correct. 2 out of 3. Now, let's try this one. This is... Oh, it hasn't got a label on. I was going to put them to the test with one of the Illumi packets. But I guess because they're not actually in store, because you can only get them mail order, they don't have a barcode on. Okay, let's try this, which is some pasta. Try another product, load up the camera, and this is quite new to market, this pasta. It's only been on the market for about a couple of 3 weeks. No items have been found in our food and drink directory that match your scan search. So the feel free for gluten-free food fusilli pasta is not there either. Oh, okay. Let's try another one. Okay, we're now trying a Lloyd Grossman tomato and smoked bacon pasta sauce. Try another product. Ding, ding, ding. It's very, very quick to pick up the barcode. It is extremely... Oh, no items have been found in our food and drink directory. So Lloyd Grossman has not made it either. So at the moment it hasn't found 3 items, but has found 2. Okay, let's have a drink. Let's try Strongbow cider. Okay, try another product. Loading camera. Searching. No items have been found in our food and... Oh, right. I must say I'm a bit disappointed. This is a live test, ladies and gentlemen. Has not found the Strongbow cider. Okay, let's try... And I got these in for somebody else because I know these are not going to be gluten-free. These are Kit Kats. So the wafer... chocolate biscuit. Try another product, and searching. No items have been found. Has not found the Kit Kats. Oh, and now I'm going to see what it says. I've got a box of Quaker oats. So oats, bloody blah, gluten, bloody blah, gluten free. What's it going to say about the? Try another product about the ordinary oats. No items have been found. Oh. Okay. So we tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It found 2 of them, which are specifically gluten-free items. There was one other gluten-free item specifically that it did not find. No, sorry, 8. The Kit Kats fell down behind the box of porridge oats. 8 items. So it didn't identify 3, 4, 5, 6. It identified 2 specifically gluten-free items which are labelled as such, so we probably wouldn't need to check anyway. Another specific gluten-free item it didn't find. We'll give it the benefit of the doubt as that hasn't been out long. The Quaker ordinary, for everyday use, for general population oats, it didn't find. That's been around for centuries. So it didn't find that at all. Strongbow cider, it should have found, I would have thought, and that's not unusual, and it's not got gluten in because it's a cider. The custard hasn't got gluten in, and the cooking sauce, just to check, allergen information, the only one is milk. No. Well, there you go. I speak as I find, ladies and gentlemen. I speak as I find. Okay, I'll tell you what. Then let's be fair. Let's put that down to teething issues. Maybe it needs to be updated. I have got the facility on my phone where it updates itself automatically if there's any more information. So that hasn't actually happened, obviously, but it's only been out for 2 or 3 days. Maybe teething problems from the actual host there. So we live in hope. We keep our fingers crossed, and best wishes to them with that. Genuinely, because I do want it to work, because it looks as though it's going to be really, really useful. A couple of other things, and then we'll do our tweets of the week. Now, I've mentioned before how sometimes I'm invited along to do a taste test for gluten-free products. Now, these are not items which are generally available at the moment. This is at a food testing lab, I suppose you might call it. And what they do is they ask people to go along and test all sorts of things, not necessarily food. I've been along and I've tested furniture polish, obviously not tasting it. I've tasted... what else have I done? Oh, yes, deodorant. They gave me a box of 2 or 3 different kinds of deodorant. And what they do is what smells the best, what's the easiest to use in the canister, what's got the best jet, did anything go wrong, did the jet get clogged up, what was longer lasting, did you have any itches or rashes, that kind of thing. And when it comes to testing food, and I have been along, and in one session I taste tested, Christmas cake, mince pies and Christmas pudding, all in the same afternoon. Essentially, that's the same ingredient, isn't it? Mincemeat or really heavy dark fruit. And God, dear oh dear, I came out. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh no, I don't want anything else for the rest of the day. Thank you very much indeed. When you're testing food, and this place does food testing on a million and one different things about food, or bread or sausages or cooking sauces or whatever it happens to be. Can't go along to most of those because they have gluten in them, which obviously wouldn't be good. But ordinary people can come along to the sessions about what tastes good for a gluten-free audience. In fact, very often it's quite good, I would imagine, if you were a company that was trying to develop a new product, you would get ordinary, inverted commas, people along to rank your gluten-free food alongside the usual food, if you get my drift. So you taste it along with how it looks like, what the mouthfeel is, whether there's any aftertaste, whether it's cloying, whether it's too sweet, all of those kinds of things. So I have been invited along to do some more taste testing in the next week. Okay, not sure whether I can manage to go at the moment. Bit of a packed diary. But what this does is it gives you an insight into what companies are developing. Obviously, they're testing these items before they put to market. Oh, gluten-free pizza. That was another one I did about a year or so ago. Gluten-free pizza. So this is obviously what some companies are going to be producing over the next few months. they've got their recipes down to the last 2 or 3. They just don't know whether it needs a bit more sugar or a bit less or maybe a bit of this or something. Yeah. So what they're doing is they're going to this taste test to try and work out what the final recipe or ingredients list is going to be. They've almost got it down to a T. I expect these to be in the marketplace before Christmas. In fact, some of them, you'll see, possibly for Christmas. Here we go. Blueberry muffins. Interested about blueberry muffins? That's number 1. Chocolate chip muffins. Chocolate loaf cake. You know what? I can probably live without those. You know, if I never see another gluten-free muffin, it'll be too soon between you and I, but there you go. Also, mini Scotty dog shortbread biscuits. Entirely sure what a Scotty dog shortbread biscuit is, but I know what a shortbread biscuit is. But there you go. They're mini Scotty dog shortbread biscuits and individual chocolate sponge puddings. There you go. More of those are going to be on the gluten-free shelves in the next, I would reckon, about 6 months. Frankly, I could take them or leave them, to be quite honest. But there you go. Of interest to you about how the process works. One more item. Christine Bailey, friend of the show. She was on a few weeks ago. She's the dietitian in Harley Street, as you may remember. Dear Peter, I'm hoping you can help support our campaign to launch a healthy eating, gluten-free, paleo-friendly cafe in an NHS hospital. We've launched a funding programme. We need backing to make it work. Health Kitchen will be the first healthy eating and dedicated gluten-free cafe in an NHS hospital. We're all aware of the increase in the number of people diagnosed celiac and those with non-celiac gluten sensitivity. In addition, the popularity of the paleo style of eating is booming, yet there are very few eating out places that cater for these diets. Health Kitchen will offer an array of healthy eating drinks, snacks and light meals. The project has been launched to raise money. Discussions are underway with various hospitals, including the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford. Food served will be available to staff, patients and visitors. Will include an array of delicious healthy options. On the menu will be an anti-inflammatory smoothie, gluten-free and paleo muffins, kale crisps, seed crackers and dips, and light dishes such as Mediterranean chicken bowl, superfood kale salad and teriyaki salmon. Now, I was been visiting a relative in hospital. They were in hospital for a month. And you know what? That League of Friends trolley comes round laden up, doesn't it? With chocolate and crisps, sweet drinks, sugary snacks, junk food, in other words. And you think to yourself, they're in a hospital. Dear, I suppose, a little what you fancy does you good and all the rest of it, and just because the hospital trolley is there laden up with the stuff doesn't mean you have to buy everything and gorge on it all at the same time. However, I was just a little bit surprised. I didn't see any fruit, but to be fair, I wasn't looking for it. But anyway, if you want to know a bit more about this campaign for the gluten-free cafe in an NHS hospital, go to kickstarter.com and you're looking for the project, which is entitled Health Kitchen. It's code number 119874161. So that's kickstarter.com, project number 1198741631.
Follow us on Twitter. We're at GFree Radio.
Finally, of course, as is customary, our tweets of the week. So let's have a look down and see what's caught our eye. Gluten Libra 805 enjoyed the show very much. Very interesting. Thank you for that. Yeah, this is always good, isn't it? Hillary has tweeted, OMG, they're gluten-free. Brackets, eats whole bag. It's like that, isn't it? When you actually find something that you can eat. And you think to yourself, you know what, I deserve the treat now. Charlotte tweeted, oh dear, British Airways, we had a Kit Kat bar in our gluten-free meal on BA72 yesterday. Second ingredient is wheat flour. Let's just have a little look down and see whether British Airways ever responded to that. No, they didn't. Well done, British Airways. You've got a whole series advertising yourself on the BBC at the moment. But you didn't respond, as far as we can see, to Charlotte. There's a few other responses from other people. Someone says, British Airways, can you offer a gluten and lactose-free menu, please? I think many celiacs can't have milk either, says S. And someone else says, the celiac plate says, the flight attendants still always offer me a bread roll, even though they've just given me a GF meal. Yes, that happens very often, doesn't it? Either on planes or certainly in restaurants and so on. And you think to yourself, OK, so my previous conversation with you like 2 minutes ago, did that register at all with you? How concerned should I be that actually you're going to pick up the right plate in the back room, in the kitchen? Do you actually know what you're doing? It's not very reassuring at all. What else have we got here? And someone says, Charlotte says, for breakfast, in fairness, there was a sealed gluten-free roll, British Airways, but the Kit Kat was in a sealed gluten-free meal box. Well, perhaps British Airways should be using the Coeliac UK app, and they would have... Oh, no, they wouldn't. Also... What else have we got here, which has come through in the week? Oh, yes, Elle said, this is an irony, in hospital for 2 oscopies and being tested as possible celiac. What do they offer me for breakfast? Weetabix or cornflake. Fail. So we wrote back, I hope the rest of your day goes a little better, Elle, and then she responded, thank you. Well, if I'm still in hospital, at least lunch and tea will be wheat and gluten-free. And then a bit later on she said, I'm out now, thanks. They forgot I was there. Oops, naughty doctors. Oh, and I got locked in the loo for 15 minutes. Hashtag my NHS adventure. Oh dear, oh dear. One more for the moment. Helen Padura says, that moment when your doctor tells you to go gluten-free, lactose-free and vegan. That moment when you pack your bags and move to a country without doctors. Helen, we feel your pain. That has been the G3 Radio Show. I have been, and hopefully will continue to be for many years yet to come, Peter Stewart. Thank you for the loan of your ears. We are back next week with the world's only weekly programme for people with celiac disease who have to, or choose to, live G-free. Have a good week.
And that was the G3 Radio Show with Peter Stewart. And you. Thanks for listening. And remember, until next time, be good, be healthy, and be G-free.